At 6 a.m., you had a really bad night. You did not sleep well. You've got a brutal meeting ahead of you today, and you just want to crawl back into bed. One of the last things you want to do in a situation like this is plaster on a fake smile, put on bright clothing and a fragrance that says, "Come look at me, give me some compliments." You just want to get on with your day. The problem with Fragcom is most of the content is about attracting people to you, but we're not always like this. Let's face it, we all have our bad days, and there's a different strategy for when you have a bad day. You just want to have something that maybe reflects your mood or allows you to just get on with it. You still want to be presentable, but you need something a little bit different. I have 8 of those fragrances today, and if you happen to be a woman and have clicked on the video, there's a couple of fragrances early on that are either unisex or unisex leaning. Let's get to it. Fragrance number 1 is Hugo Boss Bottled Elixir, a fragrance that's almost perfect for this list because it came out 25 years after the release of Boss Bottled, a happy-go-lucky compliment-getting fragrance that smells like apple strudel. Nick Minardo, who did both of these fragrances, decided that she wanted something for the man who wore this when he was 20, but he's 45 now. He's a little bit less naive. He's lived a little. He's grown up. He's seen the reality of life. And so if this smells like apple strudel, this smells like the bakery that made the apple strudel has burned to the ground. So this has a sweet quality. It's not exactly apple, but it's got a much darker feel, almost a little bit of smokiness to it to reflect that more mature gentleman. Now, to me, this has 3 parts to it. The main part to me are the resins. You're going to get labdanum, which is a warm resin. That's where the majority of the sweetness comes from. But you're also going to get frankincense, which is a fresh resin. You do get a little bit of sparkle here that separates it from the absolute version. That's the main difference. You're also going to get a lot of woods. There's an earthy vetiver. There's a lot of that. There's also cedar. So you also get some darkness there along with the labdanum. And then you're going to get a warm, spicy cardamom. It is a pleasant fragrance, but it's also very dark. Even the bottle here is a perfect metaphor for what we're looking for, because if you're in a bad mood, one of the things you want is protection. And you can see I did a couple of pictures where I took close-ups of the bottle, and essentially it's a lot of black lacquer, but there is a gold heart to it. And I think of myself as the gold heart when I'm having a bad day, and the black lacquer as protecting me. So I think this one is almost perfect for this particular list. Fragrance number 2 adopts a different strategy for dealing with a bad day. Fragrance number 1 was more about being self-validating and not being fake and reflecting your reality. Number 2 is about composure. It's about going to work, getting things done. You don't feel great. You just want to get there, get the job done. This is Prada Infusion Iris Cedar, and Prada is the perfect house when it comes to composure. And this one is particularly composed for a Prada fragrance. So it's called Iris Cedar by the fragrance Encyclopedias. However, Prada just calls this Infusion Cedar. And I get that because I get a similarity here to the original Molecule 01, which is pure isoe super, which is an aroma chemical often used as a cedar note. So I definitely pick up a lot of cedar here. There is some iris. It is a little bit more muted, but the cedar does the main amount of work. There is some benzoin here, so you get a little bit of sweetness, but it's a very, very subtle, very clean, definitely composed, and it's not going to draw a whole lot of attention to you, and that's the goal. This is a unisex fragrance. However, it is somewhat similar to the original Prada Infusion Dum, the fragrance for men in the Infusion line. However, in 2015, they consolidated the Infusion line to make it unisex. And this has a lot of similarities, but really, even the original Infusion Dum wasn't all that masculine to begin with. That was one of Daniela Andrié. She's the perfumer here. That was one of her signature scents. So yeah, it's a unisex fragrance, I think, that leans a little bit on the masculine side. Like fragrance number 1, fragrance number 3 has a dark quality to it, but unlike number 1, there's light at the end of this tunnel. This is Eau d'Ombre Leather by Tom Ford. And if the original ombre leather was meant to smell like the American West, the dark, dry leather of Texas and New Mexico, Eau d'Ombre Leather was meant to smell like the American West at dawn. So there's a real light at the end of the tunnel. And that really is reflected in the way the fragrance is built, because you're not using a leather note, you're using a suede note. So it's a little bit lighter. This is also an eau de toilette note, not an eau de parfum. And then you've also got that vanilla note, combine it with the ambre fix, and you're going to get a little bit of sweetness. Now, the great thing is the vanilla note here, this is not vanilla frosting. This is a dry balsamic vanilla. And so it's almost like a resinous vanilla, if that's such a thing. It works really well. I actually love the way the fragrance is made. I think vanilla, the way it's done, is as important as anything else. And it's done very, very differently here than in a lot of fragrances that have been coming out lately. The crazy thing about these two fragrances is Eau d'Ombre leather is marketed to men, whereas ombre leather is marketed, and yet women wear Eau d'Ombre leather significantly more than this. Now that makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense is why they only marketed this one to men, because it is a lighter leather scent overall. It is a little bit more appealing, I think, and more accessible to women. So I would consider this at this point to be a unisex fragrance leaning slightly masculine. And I have to admit, this fragrance, I don't know if there's a single fragrance out there that's rocketed up my to wear list than this one. I really, really love it, and I love the way the vanilla is done here. If you've ever done a fragrance haul, you'll know that there's always a disappointment, and there's hopefully a nice surprise. Usually there is. For my recent haul, the nice surprise was Halston Z14. Inexpensive, mid-70s. Definitely not a formula that was, had high expectations for me, but I really liked it. And it actually fits this video perfectly because the fragrance itself feels like the color, which is kind of a greeny brown. There's also no label on this either. That's just all you're going to get. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Now, it is an old school fragrance for the most part, and a lot of old school fragrances are not compliment beasts. They're sort of, they can reflect a bad mood, right? And this one's no exception. You can get leather, you're going to get oak moss. There are 3 woods here. But what I really like about this that makes it appealing is the cinnamon. It saves it. There's a cinnamon note, but there's a little hint of benzoin sweetness, just enough to give it a bright feel that I really like. And I was surprised that, yeah, it's not going to have the same depth, they never do, as the original. However, the scent itself is pretty good. And as I said, super cheap. So this is something that, I think is probably top 5, top 6 of my old school fragrances. Just massive. But yeah, color and the scent itself definitely represent a bad mood. Weird quirk about this one, though, is the name. Like Z14, that's not a typical name that you're going to get for a fragrance. Apparently Halston, who made the final decision between 2 formulas, could not decide. And so instead of creating, a specific name, they used the actual code names that they had for the fragrances when they were making them. There was Z14 and there was 1-12. Now Z14 over time has become the breakthrough fragrance, the popular fragrance, the one that ended up, being very, very popular. And I can see why. The other one, the 1-12, it's more of a green scent. But yeah, I like this. And I'm shocked, but I'll probably wear it, especially if I'm in a bad mood. If you're familiar at all with fragrances, you're not going to be surprised by the next one. There had to be an Encre Noire fragrance on this list. This one is Encre Noire à l'Extrême. This is my favorite. This has a little hint of benzoin, but mostly this is just a ton of earthy vetiver. It's a very dark fragrance, really does reflect that mood, but it's also clean too. So this kind of is almost perfect for it because, like the Prada, which had a clean element to it, sort of, just get the work done. This has the cleanness of the vetiver, but it also has a dark quality. It's a very earthy vetiver. And you could just about pick any Encre Noire fragrance and it would be perfect for, a bad day. Just get on with it at work. Performance here is really solid. And everyone used to say all the time that the Encre Noire lines are super high quality for the price. And I never understood that until I started to figure out vetiver. And I certainly think that's the case here. I think it's one of the best buys you can get for the money. Fragrance number 6 is a Creed, but unlike a lot of Creed fragrances, this one is really not considered to be a super compliment beast. It is more of an old-fashioned, almost fougere type fragrance. This is Creed's Viking. And even though this got a fougere quality, it's got a lot of pink pepper, it's got lavender, this one is really built around the absinthe note. So there's a mild boozy quality to it that gives it a little bit of bite. So whenever you're dealing with a boozy fragrance, you're not dealing with like super compliment piece kind of thing. I really like the scent. I think the performance is good. That might be the only problem with this, is people will notice it because the performance, the projection especially, really stands out. But yeah, this one is more like number one. It reflects a bad mood. This is not, like a super fresh blue fragrance or seductive fragrance. It's just smelling like a man, smelling clean, and getting on with your day. Fragrance number 7 is Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. Now, I could have gone with the original Fahrenheit, which has that gasoline vibe, which definitely would reflect a bad mood. However, I really put a lot of thought into this. I thought, no, it's too different. So let's keep the darkness of the leather and the violet leaf, that gasoline vibe, but make it more modern so you're going to get less questions. So I went with the Parfum version because it's got a gourmandy quality. You've got vanilla, you've got rum, you've got licorice. So it is going to smell more modern. And I mean, this one is a little risky because the projection is fairly strong, but is somewhat conventional, but still represents the darkness that we're looking for when we're having a bad day. So this one is more like number one. It's something that reflects what we're wearing. It's not a happy-go-lucky fragrance under any circumstances. There's too much gasoline here for that. Fragrance number 8 is actually the perfect fragrance for this list. However, I've talked about it a lot lately, so I put it more at the end of the video. This is Tom Ford's Oud Minerale. And the thing about this one is it's an aquatic, but it's not a sunny, bright day aquatic. It is early morning. It is low tide. You still get the sea vegetation, but yeah, it is a quieter, just kind of leave me alone. It's not sunny and bright kind of thing. So you're going to get the seagrass, sea notes. You're going to get the salt, but you're also going to get oud, and it really is noticeable. Not in an oud kind of way, but in a dirtiness. There's a dirty quality to it. So yeah, you can almost pick up the seagrass, the sea vegetation here. And it really is perfect. This is a great rainy day fragrance, which is really what we're looking for. The performance is excellent. It's long-lasting. Projection's fairly moderate. Usually you're going to get moderate projection with aquatics, even though it's a different aquatic. It's pretty much the same. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bright, happy, come look at me fragrance, perfect for this list. And look, I mean, I have a lot of bad days. I think we all do. The 20s haven't been great for a lot of people. And I think that, Fragcom really does, because it's about marketing in a lot of ways, lend itself to, shiny, happy face. And I didn't see any videos out here like this. So I just thought I'd give it a try, something a little bit different. I'm always looking for new ideas, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.